focusing on goals. It can sound so simple, but it can be so hard. Let me repeat that. Focusing on goals. It sounds so simple. Just focus, but it can be so hard. That's what I'm going to talk about. Focusing on goals as in related to the cleaning up challenge. And today is day 2. So welcome here and welcome Stacy. Today we are going to discuss the how and why behind focusing on goals in order to be able to proceed with the whole cleaning up thing. Well, yesterday I said a little bit about the cleaning up is something which is not just physically, it's also something in the mind. And that's what we have to keep in mind today when we talk about how to keep the goal and especially why. So the cleaning up challenge has to do with wanting to achieve a certain something, not staying stuck, but going to the next level. That's basically what it is about. And when we're talking about going to the next level, then every once in a while things happen and we want to go there, but for some reason it doesn't happen. And usually when we are stuck, something is keeping us from going there. There's certain chaos, something is holding us back, and that's why it's so important to figure out, hey, I was planning on doing something, but what was it again? So that's what we're going to discuss. So in order to be able to continue cleaning up that whole feeling of, well, things working against you and not being able to do so. And then, of course, I mean getting rid of what's not needed anymore and basically just act on it. In order to act on it, it's so important to remember why you want to do it. So why is this going to help you? What are you going to achieve? What are you going to get out of whatever it is you got in your mind? I mean, cleaning up just so it's organized, it sounds so simple. Or cleaning up just so people can drop by, again, it sounds so simple. And it is simple if maybe there's not much to clean up, or there's not much going on, or there are hardly any challenges. But then again, even people who don't have a lot of things to consider, even they can be very tired and at some point not focused anymore and like, again, really? I mean, if we do the same activities every day, day in, day out, we are bound to be less motivated. Hi, Terry. And when we're less motivated, well, let's face it, we're not focused on anything anymore. Yes, thank you, Terry. It's actually a great night over here, just as it is a great evening over there. Yeah, but, you know, easier this way. So getting back on why someone would like to clean up, well, just listening to it, I'm like, oh, cleaning up, it doesn't sound like fun at all. I'll honestly say it's not my favorite thing to do, but sometimes it is really necessary if you want to get to that next level. And then we get back to the why and we get back to the how. So yesterday we talked about all the chaos that can start to exist in your mind and in your life due to circumstances. But this is about, okay, we have made a decision at some point to do things differently. Now let's remember what decision we made and why we made that decision. Now, decisions can be there for a lot of reasons. So for me, I started the whole cleanup challenge for 2 reasons. First of all, I want to be able to walk around here. And the second thing is I want to be able to use the stuff I've got here. I'm talking about microphones, mixers and all that stuff. So I can actually do my life on a better level, more professional level. But that means that I need to be able to have access to it, which means less clutter. So let's see for a sec what Terry is saying. Terry says commitment will get you through the hard times when motivation or inspiration lets you down. Yeah, that's really true. And talking about motivation and inspiration, yesterday I said a little something about support. And when we are missing out on support, or even worse, when people are looking at you like, why bother? Yeah, like Terry says, those things can be very discouraging. And then it's so important that you basically tell yourself, no, I'm going to do it anyway, even if it's just this little one thing. And that's why remembering the why is so important, because then it's like you're not doing it for other people. You're doing it not because they are supporting you. You are doing it for yourself. And so when I started doing this, I was really like, I had made so many plans to reorganize it here as a studio. And I just kept running into reasons why I didn't do it, whether it was because I didn't understand the technology, or it was because I had to stash all this other stuff here. Like I told you, I had to stash all the stuff from what used to be in my mom's and my dad's house. And at some point I was like, yeah, okay, I want to do things. And there's a whole lot of information out there on how to get it, but what makes sense? And in order to understand what makes sense, yes, have a good night's sleep, Terry. In order for those things to make sense, it's so important to figure out what it is you want to accomplish. And what can you do? And how can you test it? And look at the various things that you can actually do. So, for me, one of the things I've always said is I want to be able to travel with all my stuff. I want to be able to go live wherever I am, record wherever I am. So a whole bunch of the things I've got is basically built on that. But here's the thing. Of course, then comes the question, but what? So for me, it's the iOS platform. This is not to promote Apple. Apple made it easier for me. So that's the whole thing. And then I figured out that a whole lot of stuff is actually either for PC or for Mac, but not for mobile phones or tablet, in my case, iPad. And I was like, okay, so I need to search for that part. So my goal is to go out there, be able to travel, go live whenever I want it, record whenever I want it, and I want certain stuff. I want to take that with me. But first of all, when I finally realized, okay, I need to look at the specs, then I was like, yeah, okay, but I need more. Because even though the specs are fine, just look at this little sweetheart. This little sweetheart, I bought it so I can use multiple screens. And when you look at the manuals and the videos, it shows you multiple screens is possible. So basically it has a Bluetooth function. So what they say is set up your iPad and then use your phone and use that by using Bluetooth. And then, so I hooked it up a couple of days ago and I started up the app and I realized that I could use the app, but I didn't know how to record anything. And I also didn't know if it would work on Instagram. So I was like, okay, Okay, yeah, okay, I know I need to use it. I know I can use it. I just don't know how to use it yet. Hear what I'm saying? Yet. So I went back to what I know, the sound core, the thing which is in my ear, but it's not for the lack of trying. And this wasn't the only thing that I tried. There's another thing over there, which is a Zoom thing. And the reason I'm not getting up is because there's a lot of mess behind me. Talk about cleaning up. And I'm like, no, I'll show you that thing another time. But I was so excited when I got it. It's a little Zoom device, and it was like, hey, that's cool. I can take my Zoom microphone, I can plug it into the device, I can plug the device into the phone, and putting on my headphones, I could hear myself, but still, I didn't hear any difference on the video. And now we go back to why, including support and how. So in order to improve myself, I need to figure out myself how it works. And nowadays, I mean, even if I call a music store or whoever it is, then it's hard for them to answer that question, because not everyone knows, in this case, about streaming. They know about music, but streaming videos, that's still a whole different ballgame. We have Google though, and we have YouTube. So I was like, okay, I'm going to check it out. So now I've learned to read the specs, read the descriptions. I know a little about XLR as opposed to USB. So, well, Terry was watching just now, and USB, no way, because XLR is far better quality. But USB makes it so much easier to plug into the phone. So, of course, you understand, I would like to do it. So, and then we get back to, is it something you want to record vocally? Is it for music? Is it for streaming? What's the purpose? And then we get back to the whole why and the focus and the goal. What is it I want to achieve? So in the past, I wanted to record things because I like to make music and I want to help out my friends who are musicians. But nowadays, I've decided I want to do a podcast. I want to do these lives. I don't want to run into StreamYard, hicking up all the time. So I need to be able to monitor what's going on. Well, for the monitoring, we have these awesome headphones, which I can put on, but I still haven't figured out if I actually can hear it when it's going like click, 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 click. And that was one of the things I ran into. So usually I ask people, tell me if the sound isn't working. Please tell me if it's not working, because I can't hear it myself. And funny thing, true thing though, is when I was in Chicago, I used this thing, the DJI. I think I talked about it yesterday too, or at least in other times. So this thing is kind of cool, but if you are not wearing any earphones, or better said, if no earphones are plugged into the receiver, then when people want to go live, it's nice and all, but I can't hear them. So it's basically what I need is getting comments back so I can actually talk to them. Well, I don't know about you, but when I talk about this, that could instantly create chaos on your end, because I was talking about the cleanup challenge, and here we are talking about the technical stuff. But this is it. What I want to share with you is not so much the technical stuff and how all the technical stuff works, but I want to share with you how confusing it can be. And let's face it, it can be confusing, because it's like, okay, which direction do I need to go? Do I go left? Do I go right? And then we basically go back to the why and the goal. So when it comes to cleaning up, I got myself a couple of devices, and here we go again. Clutter starts to exist. Chaos starts to exist in my mind, but also around me. So every now and then it's also important to say, okay, what am I not using anymore? Let's see if I can get rid of it. Maybe I can sell to other people, and, well, worst case scenario, maybe throw it away. And if you're in time, of course, you can always say, I'm going to return it and then see what I can do. But of course, then you have to do that in a short amount of time after getting it. So cleaning up, when we talk about this, reducing the chaos, focusing on the why, it's important to narrow it down. Just like I said, when I first of all got my equipment, it was so I could actually record music for myself, record music for my friends. But then it changed to, hey, I'm going live now. I want to record it. I want to have it as a sound file. It needs to sound good. How can I do it? So for a while, I've been really focused on being outside, going to Starbucks, for instance. They are always playing music. At least the one where I'm going to is always playing music. And then, of course, we get the hassle of saying, YouTube saying, or other people saying, like, hey, but that song, that's from, and then it gets turned out. I think Facebook does so, and YouTube does so too. And that's apart from possibly getting any penalties. But, you know, the moment that they turn the sound down, they usually turn the speech down too. So then it's all quiet. And what I wanted to achieve is not achievable anymore. So, back to the drawing board. What is it? Why did I want to do it? So now I realize, okay, it's nice to be able to go live outside, have a decent quality, hence the DJI mix. But now what if I'm going live on a location, like for instance here? Is there enough here? Is the good quality? And I am going live lots of times at night. And when do companies do maintenance on the internet? Well, at night. So technically spoken, we have access to the internet 24/7. But when it really comes down to it, that's not always the case. So we have to be very precise with what we want and why we want it and what we are willing to do in order to achieve it. And that's a big if. What are we willing to achieve in order to do it? And yeah, I realize it's not formulated as an if, but you do understand what I'm saying, hopefully. If you don't know why you want it, then it's easy to throw the towel in the ring, to give up, to say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And then the question is, do we have to settle for less? Is it okay to settle for less? So here's the thing. We don't need perfection per se. We don't need perfection at all. But what we do need is moving on. So I will admit, I stopped going live for a while. Partially because the technology didn't suit me. There was all this interference going on. I did ask people about it. Also, I was like, okay, I can change things. And then, of course, there was the sort of lack of support, or at least there was less support than I used to have when I started up. And that didn't feel good either. Now, fortunately, talking to people about it, also other people about it, I knew that they would tell me, hey, you there, you go get back at it again. Because I know there's no such thing as perfection. But if I won't say the lack of perfection, but if certain things do get in the way of being able to achieve what you want. So in this case, I cannot create a podcast. I cannot use the sound of a live if they don't have an image. I mean, we're talking about podcast, and the sound is just annoying all the time. I mean, that's distracting. Then people won't listen to the message. All they hear is what's going on in the background. Or worse, on the foreground. Because it's right there in your face, in your ears. So that needed to be solved. There was no excuse. It needed to be solved. And then, again, it was like, okay, chaos. How? Chaos. I don't know how. I just know I'm running into things. So then the focus is so important again, to get that focus back. And, well, one of the things I've said before, and I'll repeat it again, support is so important. Talking to other people is also very important. And being inventive. So go look in places where you haven't looked before. Go search there. Ask other people. So when it comes to the whole technical stuff, I've been asking a camera store, a music store. I've been checking out YouTube videos. And of course, I've been talking to a lot of other people about it. But even though vlogging is it now, not everyone knows about it. It's mind-boggling, because I'm like, oh, but this is the most normal thing to do. Well, apparently it's not. So, yeah, and that means that focus has to come from the inside. And then we get back to the why again. And just now it was listed as the big why. So often they say, if you ask yourself why, then go on and go on and go on. So you ask yourself 7 times why until you figure out what it is you want to do precisely. Or better said, you do know what you want to do, but then you precisely know why you want to do it. So doing a podcast is one thing, but why do I want to do the podcast? Why do I want to go live? Because I want to show people that it's okay to speak up. I want to encourage them to have others hear them, even when they do not want to listen. And I want to encourage people that it's okay to be you, the way you are. And the only thing I can do so, of course, besides locally and speaking to people one-on-one, but the most impact is if I do it on an online platform. So everyone in the world can actually listen to it and see it and think, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And we all know that what we put out there, it's a little bit difficult to take it off. It's doable, but, always keep in mind that, once it goes around, then, so it does make sense to think about, okay, what's the best way to get my message across? Well, fortunately, I figured out YouTube. Because I'm part of this movement maker group with Evan Carmichael, he introduced us to Instagram. And besides Instagram, we recently heard about TikTok. Well, actually a while ago. I'm not that good at TikTok. I'll just admit it straight away. I do have an account on there. And then we get back to chaos. Because in order to do TikTok, it's about short videos. But in order to do YouTube, it's about longer videos. Another example, if I record my videos, I can do it on here. I like it to get some feedback. But the whole thing is, of course, vertical. It's portrait style. And when you go to YouTube, it's horizontal. So it's landscape style, which means I need to be able to change this video into one that one would want to watch on YouTube. So again, that can cause chaos. And in the beginning, it did cause chaos. It was like, yeah, how do I do it? And then all of a sudden, someone came and they said, okay, use... I know it's on my phone, but I usually don't look at it. But there's an app for it which helps you change it. And I love that app. I do really have to say I love that app. And once I heard that one, and they said, oh yeah, you can use image in image, picture in picture. I was like, oh, okay, nice, good. But it required me to talk about it, share with other people what I wanted, and still be focused on that one thing. And the funny thing is that when you're really focused on something, then when people are talking about it, then all of a sudden you hear that. You hear those words, you hear that sentence. It's like when you pick a new car and you have a make, model, and a color in mind, then all of a sudden, everywhere you see those cars and you see those makes and models. And that's basically the same thing with the whole cleaning up. So what you're focused on, that's what you see. If you're focused on chaos and clutter, that's what you see. But if you're focused on finding out or achieving that one thing, then that's what you are going to see, and that's what you're going to hear. And that's what you're going to be aware of. That's where your energy will be going. And of course, the other things might still be around, but then you will know, like, okay, this is what might make sense, and this is what not might make sense. And whatever doesn't make sense, just get rid of it. I mean, you only have time for so many things in a day, and you only have so much energy to do things in a day. So you have to make choices. So I guess my conclusion for today, when it comes to the goal and focus, it's about the why, especially realizing that resources are limited. And it's about the how. And the how also has to do with not getting discouraged. Keep looking for another way. Keep asking. Get out there. But most of all, know for yourself what exactly it is you want to achieve and with what goal in mind. If you know what it is, then that will help you move forward. And like I said, my goal is to spread my message. I usually use Lady Lexi's legacy as a hashtag, and that's because I want to leave a legacy for when I'm no longer around. I want to inspire people. I want to motivate people. I want to get across to people that it's okay to be happy, and it's okay to be heard and to speak up. So you won't get in a situation where you feel very unhappy up to the point that you might use substances just to numb yourself because you're just not happy, which usually also has to do with environment And I mean that in the broad sense. So if you are saying, okay, yeah, cool, yeah, I can do something with it, then please leave a comment. You can also sign up for the challenge. Then I'll make sure that you'll get PDFs and materials, things that I've discussed on here. So you can look at it again and think like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Also, if you have questions and you want to comment, or you need some little more information, or you want to be coached on it, just let me know. I love to coach people. That's basically what I do. And coaching in my case is also sort of training. And yeah, I guess it's, well, I explain to people why certain things happen, because not everyone knows it. I'm all about mindset when it comes to it. You know, I know a little thing or two about why the mind plays tricks on us and is not letting us do what we want to do. And then it's up to us to go against what the mind is doing. Because if we're telling ourselves constantly, never mind, so we set ourselves a goal and then never mind, then that's what the mind is following up on. So we have to reprogram our mind by taking action. And even though when you don't feel inspired, when you know that if you only do this one little thing, that it also will make a difference in your own mindset, then a whole new world of possibilities opens up for you. Okay, I'll see you again tomorrow, day 3. Day 3 is very interesting because it has to do with memories. So a lot of times we do not get to achieve things because of fear of things that we have encountered. And it's so important to tell ourselves we are good enough and we can do it. And yes, it might have happened that this didn't go the way it should have gone. But you know, tomorrow is another day. It's the same thing with, I know I'm tired right now. It's 3 o'clock at night and I know I'm a little bit slow. And yes, maybe I could have made it more spectacular, but I'm giving you all I can right now. And I do know that what I want to get across has gotten across if you've listened from beginning to end. And in order to do so, I did take notes, tell about it, and I also started in a certain way. So I know I have a certain structure in mind, and that's what I'm using. So I'm not going to say this is all about system and all about structure, but it does help when you want to focus and want to get a better, especially a very clear perspective on what it is you want to do, how you want to do it, and why you want to do it. I'll see you again tomorrow. If you want to join, don't forget to also subscribe for the material.